Welcome to The Author's Journey with #1 international best-selling author and in-demand publisher, Rebecca Hall Gruyter. Today, we'll showcase the works of an amazing best-selling author, find out the story behind their book, and explore ways to bring your message powerfully forward. Now, here's your host, Rebecca Hall Gruyter.
Welcome, everybody, to the Author's Journey. Just honored to be connecting in with you today. And one of the things I love about this show series is we have an opportunity to pull back the curtain and really have candid conversation with best-selling authors where they're sharing what it's really like, what it took to bring their book forward, and sharing how it's been received. And in particular, today we're talking with an author who has written a book that heals. And that's different than a memoir or a fiction or a business type book. This book was really designed to help impact people and bring forward healing and transformation in their life. So very excited to hear what she has to say and share with us today. And to get prepared for the conversation, I want to give you a few tips. So one, I encourage you to be fully present. So take a breath, really center, open your heart, open your ears, and I encourage you to have a notepad ready. So when you have that aha moment or an insight or a tip or something you want to take action on, you're able to write that down and start to move forward with it. When we write, it connects your hand and your heart, and it brings that idea, that concept, that next step into reality so we can start to interact with it. So have that notepad ready and your favorite writing utensil so that you can capture those insights that perhaps Madison shares or is something that sparks something within you. And by being present and centered and open, bubbles up, and you can capture that insight as well. So very excited to have each and every one of you joining us today. Thrilled for the conversation, and it is my honor and pleasure to introduce our amazing guest. So Madison Frederick is a #1 international best-selling author, a long-term survivor of years of trauma, a master life coach that specializes in helping people move beyond just survival to a place of great peace and have the ability to thrive. She enjoys volunteering with local nonprofits, and she is passionate about helping you heal and thrive. Please lean in. Warmly welcome the powerful, inspiring Madison Frederick. Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for the nice intro, Rebecca. I'm happy to be here today.
You are so welcome, and I'm just thrilled to have you here today and looking forward to all that we're going to talk about and share. But I'd like to start with why. Why is this work of helping people move into this place of peace, why is that something that is personally so important to you?
Because all of the years that I spent going through my stuff, experiencing all the trauma and all of the other things that happened to me in my life, I was not aware of things. All I could do is think about getting through the day or getting through the next day. I wasn't concerned about what I needed to do to get healthy and take care of myself. And so I wrote the book primarily for the reader to understand that it is possible for you to get through all of this stuff.
I love that. And to move beyond just that day to day, but really bring forward those things that matter in life and matter to each of us. And I love that you have been able to do that. And so I'm curious in the work that you do and how you help people, why did you feel led to write a book, and what was that journey like for you?
Oh, my mercy. I have known since probably my late 20s, early 30s, that I was going to write a book. Had no idea what the subject matter was going to be, but I just knew in my heart of hearts that was going to happen. And as I lived my life, getting married at a young age of 18 and living my life through all of these things that happened, I realized that a lot of it stemmed from my childhood and discovering in my journey that my dad was a narcissist. I always knew he was a controlling person, and that I believed that he didn't like me very much because of all the condescending things that he told me throughout the years. And so getting a handle on all of that and writing it down, and it's so much cathartic for a lot of people to actually put pen to paper, or in my case, keyboard to fingers, to get it all written out so that you can take a look at it and see, oh my gosh, look at all this stuff.
Mm.
So writing the book was very, very cathartic for me. Some chapters were extremely difficult to write and very painful because I didn't want to look at all of that stuff. Living it is one thing, but writing it down and taking it under a microscope, your behaviors and such, isn't an easy task.
Mm-mm. And how did you find the courage to do that, to face everything and write it out and really take the journey and shape it into something that can really serve? That's not an overnight process. That takes a lot of courage, a lot of persistence. What helped you do that and kept you encouraged on the journey?
Well, let me start with how I got to the position of doing the actual writing. I knew that I had done research, and people said do an outline first and figure out where you start, the middle, and the end. And I didn't know how to do that, so I actually contacted a friend of mine that has a wealth of background in journalism, and asked her, okay, so you know a little bit about me. Do you think it would be a good idea for me to write it myself or with a writing coach, or should I write it get a ghostwriter to write it, or do I need to totally change my name and all of that stuff and go about it that way? And within 1 week, 3 people told me about Bridget Cook Birch and her expertise in helping people write. So I contacted her and signed up for a retreat, a writer's retreat. And in order to prepare for that, I needed to submit some sample of my writing so she could see the tone, the skill, and all of those kinds of things. And so when I also learned that to write a book, typically publishers want 60 to 80,000 words, which was very, very daunting to me. And say, holy moly. So I prepared some stuff to send to her prior, and I showed up with having accomplished almost 37,000 words.
Wow.
And, of course, I didn't give her all of those. I just gave her a snippet. And in the course of her tutelage and stuff, she asked me if I wanted to write a self-help book. And I looked at her, and it was like deer in the headlights. And, well, so how many words does that take? And she said, typically publishers want 60 to 80,000 words. And I'm looking at her, and I just said, that means I have to start all over. And I felt real deflated. But she quickly reminded me of my skill set, having worked with me through one of the nonprofits that I volunteer for. And so that's how the journey actually started. So when I started writing, I did not do an outline. I wrote as the issues came up. So my book was not necessarily written from the first chapter all the way through the 18th. I wrote, I don't even remember which ones I wrote first, but I do know out of that 37,000 words, when I took those words and put it into the actual manuscript, I might have ended up using about a sentence and a half.
Wow.
So it was. So it took discipline, obviously, but a lot of deep thought and research into what I was dealing with.
Wow. And from start to finish, when you made that commitment to, I'm going to bring this forward, how long did that take?
From the very first time of that 37,000 words to publishing the book and getting it out there, it was almost 5 years. Not quite, but almost. And lots of ups and downs. The chapters changed and morphed, and I added things. And ironically enough, I did not want to write about the email that I had received from my son, which is actually the first chapter of the book, is entitled Email Bombshell, because it was hard to write. Out of that email also came the estrangement with my grandkids and with he and his wife. And so I didn't want to write any of that. I didn't want to look at any of that. And when I had done a pitch to some editors, they all of them said that needs to be included in the book. So there it was, my challenge. And I decided that it was needed. A lot of people don't understand what gaslighting is or narcissism, which was two things that I really wanted for people to understand.
Yep. Oh, well, thank you for sharing. I think it's so interesting to hear some of the journey, and I just honor your persistence and your willingness to face all those things and to do the hard work to bring your book forward. And I think it's important for listeners, readers, to know it's not something that just happens overnight. There's a lot of wrestling and creating and research and work that goes into bringing a book forward. So a question in that, as this is your first book, correct? Your first book that you've brought forward?
Correct.
So was there, when you think back on the journey from publishing to launching, is there something like, wow, I just didn't know that when I started the journey, and maybe that's an insight you could share with our listeners so now they know?
Well, part of the reason why it took so long to write was because I had one technical issue after another. I was also trying to have a website built for me and, paying attention to social media and all of those kinds of things. And I didn't have a clue how to do any of that. So it was hunt and peck pretty much on the technical side of it. But I also was able to weave in the writing within that, and that helped keep me focused on there is an end in sight. Don't know where it's going to be. Don't know how I'm going to afford to publish, but I just put it in who I call God's hands, because I firmly believe that this book was designed by the experiences that I've had. God wants this book out in the world so it can help people.
Yes.
And beautiful. I've had some amazing feedback from people who have already read the book. So it's, helping one person, that's what this purpose is. It's not about the money. It's not about any of that stuff. The book is my story, obviously, but it's not about me. It's about helping other people have some insight and give them food for thought to consider their lives and where they're at with things. So.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I really appreciate it. And I'd love for you to share the official title of your book. And I know it's on Amazon and it's being released on multiple platforms and multiple formats that people can receive it. It became a #1 international best-selling book very, very quickly. So obviously there was a strong pull and need that was there as you honored and leaned in to bring this book forward. So would you share the title of your book?
You bet. It's Untangle the Web of Narcissism, From Deceit and Chaos to Finding Your Sanity. And the reason why I chose a web is because the behaviors that I learned and perfected quite well on my journey living with my dad is the web. And I had to untangle all of that and untangle my responsibility and take a look at things like that I responded to that I could have done differently. And now, hindsight's always 20/20, as we say. But also, I also honor the fact that, Maya Angelou says, when you know better, you do better. And giving myself permission to feel all of the guilt, the shame, and all of those things that came up yet again when I was writing the book. I allowed myself to move through that in the writing process.
Mm-hmm.
So
I love it. So Untangle the Web of Narcissism, and the book cover has a beautiful web with little droplets of dew on
it does.
and,
It does.
and the light shining through. So I love the cover. I love the message and what you are bringing forward. We are getting ready to go to our first commercial break. So as we do that, listeners, it's a great time to just take a moment and really be present and process and see kind of what's bubbling up, what insights, what questions, what things are coming forward with the beautiful insights and sharing that Madison is bringing to us today. And we'll continue our conversation in just 2 minutes.
Follow Voice America at facebook.com/Voice America for juicy updates from your favorite radio shows and podcasts.
Rebecca Hall Gruyter's Speaker Talent Search is looking for speakers wanting to get on more stages. With just one audition, you could open the doors to hundreds of speaking opportunities, reach more people, and expand your impact. Finalists get to audition live in front of leaders looking to fill all kinds of speaking opportunities. Apply now at speakertalentsearch.com. That's speakertalentsearch.com. We look forward to hearing your message.
Announcing a powerful new TV channel featuring programs designed to enhance and transform your life. Make powerful connections, one program at a time. And by doing so, we can bring transformation to the world. Tune in each week to Empowered Connections TV as we add new programs to help you make empowered connections of your own. Visit empoweredconnectionstv.com. That's empoweredconnectionstv.com. And make the most of an incredible life transformation.
The Internet's #1 talk station. #1 talk station. VoiceAmerica.com.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had some great thoughts kind of bubble up, or maybe a different perspective in looking at writing or sharing a story. And I love Madison's commitment to helping one. If this book can make a difference, I'm willing to face all these things. I'm willing to persevere through tech challenges and rewriting and reliving and even facing some things that are hard to face. I'm willing to do that if it can help someone, if it can help a person. And as this book went out into the world, became a #1 international best-selling book, just to give you a little bit of information around that, it reached best-selling status in 4 countries: US, Australia, Canada, and France. It became a bestseller in 56 categories, not just like 2, 56, and seven of them ranking #1. So really powerfully received very, very quickly. She had advanced reviewers read the book because that helps support the process. And they leaned in and have given her such amazing feedback on how their lives have been touched. And even behind the scenes, we were talking for a moment. She's just sharing a couple quick examples of how hearts and lives have been touched. And as you reflect back on the journey, I know you shared some of the challenges in bringing it forward and that heartbeat, that desire to help someone, and already you've helped many. Would you mind just sharing some of your perspective and thoughts around that?
Well, to begin with, I was so overwhelmed, in a good way, obviously, of how quickly it went #1 best-selling status. I had no idea it was going to go that quickly. Mm-hmm. And ecstatic, I can't even say. To know that people are really hungry and wanting to know the information. I mean, the main topic is narcissism, but it goes so much deeper. And being able to lean into all of that and receive the questions that I've had. Someone asked me if I thought she had read somewhere that narcissism was on the prize, and what my opinion was on that. And My thought is that I don't know that I personally think that that's an accurate statement, only because I think people are taking care of themselves better, and I think COVID helped us go into and have a lot of introspection, and so I think it's just more of awareness of narcissism, of gaslighting. So being able to put that out there, it makes my heart sing. It's plain and simple.
I love that. I love that. And I know that you were even sharing with me that even someone who had read that first chapter, it helped them and shifted their perspective and able to move forward in a positive way in a relationship because of that. And others have been impacted in so many different ways. And your book's just beginning. It was just released the end of August, and it's already having such great impacts. I don't know if you have a couple of shares that you'd like to share with our listeners. I know I got to hear them behind the scenes, but if there are any you wanted to share with our listeners, that would be wonderful.
You mean the responses that I've had?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. One of the reviewers had read the intro and then the first chapter about my son and the estrangement that it caused, and the fact that I was able to finally release the "I got to be right" and justifying that I always did. And she said that they've got a big event coming up, family as a wedding, and she has kind of butted heads with her son somewhat. He's the groom, and they had a conversation where she was able to say, you know, I was wrong and I'm sorry. She had never been able to say those things, and she said that because she had read that I took responsibility for things that happened with my son, she was able to do that with her son, and the conversation continued splendidly.
How beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, thank you for sharing. And I know that, and that's just one example, and that was just the beginning of the book. I know there have been so many more, and one of the things that's beautiful in your book is it does include the full reviews. So for people that were advanced readers, you can see some of the impact and hearts and lives touched, and I just think that's a really beautiful feature that you included in your book. And as you're reflecting back on our conversation, is there a tip, a piece of advice you can give to someone who is wanting to learn more about narcissism and is interested in your book, a tip or a piece of advice in perhaps how to read the book or the order to go in, anything around that could serve and support them?
Absolutely. Each chapter is pretty much, with the exception of 2 chapters, well, 4 chapters actually. There's 2 topics in 2 chapters, and then 2 topics in 2 more chapters that kind of go hand in hand. But other than that, each chapter pretty much is a standalone subject. I think that going through and reading from the beginning to the end, I would suggest that they do that. It is not an easy read book by any stretch. It brings a lot of thought and feelings at times. It triggers people from stuff that's happened to them. I just advise that if that happens and you need to step back and take a look at that issue and reflect on it, journal on it. If it's something that is heavy duty enough that you might want to seek professional help, then I strongly suggest you do that. But there are tools and suggestions throughout the book of how to get through all of these things. And so, yeah, you can start with the chapter on food addiction if that is something that's primarily your top list of things to look at, you bet. But I think overall you get a flavor of the process of how healing actually happened to me if you read it from beginning to end.
Beautiful. And then they could always go back and read that one section again. But I love that this is a living book. It's designed to help support people to heal. So it should be bringing up stuff as people
Exactly.
read and giving them an
Yeah.
opportunity to grow, to heal, to uncover things, to expand, and even put into play some of the beautiful tools that you share about and make available on their journey. So I just honor you bringing this book forward. Congratulations on becoming a #1 international best-selling author so quickly. Can't wait to see how this ripples out and continues to ripple out around the world. And I'd love for you to share, do you have any final tip or thought that you want to share with our listeners from a healing perspective? If there's additional advice that you would give them in considering leaning into this book and considering approaching some of these subjects.
Well, I think to begin with, the most important key thing is to not be hard on yourself. And yeah, we've all made mistakes and said things, did things that we wish we wouldn't have done. But it's important to give yourself a break and not to beat yourself up about it because you didn't know at the time. So be kind to yourself. And also it's a good idea to take time to play and get away from the heaviness of the material, especially if you're triggered.
Beautiful.
That would be what I'd have to say.
Thank you. No, I think that's really, really helpful. And then from a author perspective, a writer perspective, do you have a piece of advice or tip for someone who feels like they feel that pull to share their story to help make a difference? What piece of advice or wisdom would you give to them?
Kind of on the same vein. I have a lot of fellow author friends that are wanting to write a book, and their topics are amazing, and their subjects do need to get out into the world because they will help people, and they struggle with the internal strife that they're feeling themselves. But the key is just, plow through it if you have to. Just write, freehand write, freestyle write, until you get some of those things on the paper. Then you can go back and look at it. I mean, I edited my book a gazillion times before I even gave it to the editor. So, just one step at a time, 15-minute segment, 5-minute segment, but make time to write because everybody has a message that needs to get out there and a different perspective and different slant on things. And it's important that you honor yourself and allow yourself to go through your healing process at the same time.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And listeners, I hope that you're taking that in like a sponge, absorbing this beautiful wisdom and insights to support you on your journey. And I echo that so many of us have powerful stories or journeys we've gone on. And if we were courageous and willing to share, it can make a difference, heart by heart, life by life, and can make the world a better place. So I encourage you to persevere and find that time and put into play some of the beautiful tips and insights that Madison has shared with us today. And then, Madison, I'd love for you to share how people can connect with you, how they can go deeper, where they can get your book, the full title again, all of those great ways for them to lean into your book and lean into connecting with you.
Of course. So the title of the book is Untangle the Web of Narcissism, From Deceit and Chaos to Finding Your Sanity. You can locate more information on my website, MadisonFrederick.com. I do have a couple of free PDFs that they can download that gives them a taste of what types of tools are available in the book. It is available right now in digital form, and I'm excited to announce that it also is available in print copy.
Yay!
There will be that happened quickly too. I'm amazed at that. But and then what else? I will be offering some courses that I'll be sharing when those are going to be available on my website.
Perfect.
So, and they're also welcome to download the introduction as a free PDF if they want to learn a little bit more about the book. and what I'm about.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for sharing. And do you mind giving us your website one more time just to make sure everybody got it?
Easy peasy, MadisonFrederick.com.
Perfect. Perfect. We like easy. We don't need more complications to untangle.
Yeah.
So that's perfect. Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Madison, for joining us today and sharing your wisdom and your insight and these tools and resources to really support us on our journey. I so appreciate it. And listeners, we also like to share some tools and resources to support you on your journey as well. So if you go to Emerging Author Series with an S, emergingauthorseries.com, you'll see a collection of 9 different ebooks that talk about writing a book and give you tips and next steps and what are your options and how do you bring it forward? Where do you start? All the frequently myths and truths, all those different things that we are frequently asked. And this is just our gift to you. You can select as many or as few as you want in that collection to support you on your journey. So that you can find that at emergingauthorseries.com. And I just hope you each have an amazing day, that you take a moment before rushing back out into the day to really take in some of what has been shared and spoken and brought forward in our conversation today. And for those of you called to write, I invite you to look at your calendar and actually carve out time that you're going to write, that you're going to put that pen to paper and really see what is coming forward and allow what is being touched in your heart and spirit being birthed to be birthed, to really come forward and make that difference that it's called to make, because each of you matter. And if you have that call to bring your story forward, it's because people need it, not someday. They need it now. So make time in your day, in your week, and in your life to bring that forward. I hope you all have an amazing week, and we'll look forward to talking to you next time.
Thank you for tuning in to The Author's Journey. Please join Rebecca Hall Gruyter for another edition of the Author's Journey podcast every Monday on the Voice America Variety Channel. And until we talk again, use some of the tips and inspiration from today's show to guide you as you lean in to bringing your message forward.